Well, hello and welcome to Transform Tuesday for Tuesday, August 21st, 2018. My name is Dave McCormick. I'm VP of Product Management here at Alpha Software. And today might be a short session, but we're going to go over a question that someone had submitted a few days ago. And love getting questions early because it lets me prepare. But if you do have any questions, go ahead and type them into the questions box of the GoToWebinar control panel, and I will try to get to them at the very end. So let's jump right in. Actually, before we jump right in, I just want to make sure that everyone can hear me and see my screen. So if you could just type into the questions box whether or not everything is coming through, that would be super. And I'll wait a minute. Oh, okay, wonderful. Thanks very much. All right, so today's question is, let me scroll down here and find it, is how to divide up a Transform account among multiple departments or clients. So here's the scenario. You bought a 5-pack, let's say, of Transform licenses because, well, that's how they're sold. And you have a client, or maybe a couple of clients, or maybe a few departments within your organization, and they don't need all 5 licenses, right? So you don't want to waste licenses, you're paying for them. So you want to divvy them up. So maybe one client you'll hand out a couple seats to, and another client you'll hand out another couple of seats. So to do that, I've created this handy dandy graphic to show you what I mean. Let's say that you have got 2 clients. One is Bob's Buildings, and the other is Amy's Appliances. So Bob is maybe a building inspector, and Amy fixes appliances. And you are the admin. And these are 2 separate businesses. And so you don't want to see, Bob shouldn't see anything that Amy is doing. She shouldn't see her forms, for example, certainly shouldn't see her data, but basically that should be completely hidden from Bob. And vice versa, anything that Amy is doing, Bob shouldn't be able to see as well. So the question is, how do I go about and set that up? Well, actually, it's pretty easy, but it's a couple of steps. So I'm going to go through it step by step. I'm going to do it in PowerPoint because today my Transform account is acting a bit funky. I've got actually a new alpha version on my phone. So probably should have done that after the webinar, but that's how we roll. So to begin, we're going to begin here at the Permissions tab. And this is a tab that probably requires the most help and the most explanation of the 4 tabs. We, in fact, have a video that's dedicated entirely to the Permissions tab, and you can find it in the video library for Transform Tuesdays. If you need the link to that, just send an email to TF, as in Transform, tfservice@alphasoftware.com. We'll be happy to get that to you. So today in the Permissions tab, I'm just going to go through this fairly quickly. But if you look at the Permissions tab, we've got 4 sections here. We have a Statuses section where there are 4 that are predefined called Open, Submitted, Approval, and Closed. And you can use these in different ways. There's a Roles section in which you have created a role that you can assign to 1 or more users. And those roles by default are things like form designer, supervisor, user, someone who just fills in a form as a user. And that's one of the roles. But today we're going to actually create a custom role. So to do that, we'll click the plus button. And we're going to enter in, and it's going to create a new blank section. And we're going to type in the role ID and a display, which can be the same. And I'm going to call this appliance users and display appliance users because this is going to be for the Amy's appliance example. I'll enter in a description, people who are allowed to see the appliance form. Once that role is done, you'd think, oh, I'm done. I can just go assign that role to a form, but not so fast. That's not quite how it works in Transform. Instead, roles are used to set up what are called groups. And groups give you a lot of granular control over what a particular role is allowed to do. So we create a brand new group, and I'm going to give it the same name as I gave my role. I create a new one called Appliance Users. Once I create Appliance Users, it appears here on this list. It first starts out with, I think it says New User Group, and then you rename it. Now it says Appliance Users. And here are the things you're allowed to do. Are you allowed to create a new form? Are you allowed to browse the form types? In other words, am I allowed to even see that that form exists in the management area? And really, we want to keep these separate. So what I've done is I've clicked here on roles allowed to create new form instances, and that opened up this area here. I think I can show it in more detail. Here it is. And when I clicked on that, this area here opened up. So when I clicked on roles allowed to create new form users here. So here I can decide who is allowed to create. By default, actually, management console, account administrator, and I think even user are checked when you create a new one. So I unchecked those, and I said the only person who's allowed to create a new form instance is someone who is an appliance user type role. So I've clicked that. Okay. When that is done, you're going to have a little orange button here that you're going to click Save, and that'll upload the new permissions to the system. You'll need to do that. The other thing I found, which was a little bit, while trying it out, which is a little bit quirky, is before the system acknowledged that I had set up this role, I actually had to log out and log back in again. Now, that's a bug. We should have it fixed quite soon, but I wanted to let you know about that in advance in case you run into it and you don't get frustrated. So if you don't see your group, log out, log back in again, you'll see your group. Okay, with that done, we're going to go back into the form designer. And in this case, we're going to choose the appliance service form. This is for Amy's Appliances. And I've selected it, and once I've selected it, there's an advanced features section. By default, this is not all displayed here. You need to click on advanced features. This is where you can set up the color and the icon for the form. That's probably the most common reason why you would be here. You can do other things as well, including grabbing the raw definition as JSON, which is super helpful because when you have that, you can then use it to clone another report, even if it's in a different account. It's sort of this universal way of getting form definitions in and out. But today what we're going to do is we're going to go to this section here called Status Role Permissions Group. And when I click on Status Roles Permissions Group for this particular form, I now have some choices. I have Simple Group, which is the group that it's assigned to by default. I have Form with Approval, which is one that we set up sort of as a sample. You'll find that in your account too, but most people don't use it. Almost everyone is using this. And if you leave it blank, you're going to be using Simple Form. But for this particular form, what we really want to use is appliance users. That's the group we just set up. So appliance service form is attached to appliance users group. So now the only people who can use this form, once I've clicked on that and I've saved, are people who are part of that group. So the question is, how do you assign people to that group? Well, that's actually quite easy. You probably already know how to do that. You go to the Home tab of Transform Central, and you choose Manage User Roles. Then you find the user, in this case, Appliance Amy at alphasoftware.com is the name of my user. And then I set permissions. I made her a regular user for other forms, but I also gave her the ability to use appliance forms, so I chose appliance users, the group that we had just set up. Then I click Set Roles, and we're done. So, told you it didn't take long. Let's just do a quick review. If you want to separate out your forms so that only some people can see some forms and some people can see other forms, first thing you'll do is you'll create a new role in the Permissions tab. Then you'll create a new group in the Permissions tab. Then you'll assign the form to the group. I'm sorry, the other thing you'll need to do, obviously, is when you create the new group is to tell it that what roles they're allowed to have. So what you do is you click on the you'd click right here on roles allowed to create new form instance. Then you'll assign the form to the group. So you'll go back to the Designer tab, you'll go into Advanced Features, and you'll select the group that you just created here in step 2. And then the last step is to go to the Transform Centrals to the Home tab and choose Manage Users and select the user in particular that you want and assign them to the group that you want. So that is it. Let's see, let's do a quick time check. Did that in 10 minutes. You guys should be able to do that for real in about 2 minutes. Are there any questions on this? And if not, this may be the shortest Transform Tuesday ever. Questions. I'll give you a minute for questions. Okay, so not a question on this, but there is another question on another topic. Let me just read this. Is there a way to improve the quality of pictures? For example, taking a picture of a label so that the data can be read clearly. I will look into that. I know that we do a certain amount of compression and we do limit the size of the photos, but I think there's an ability to get around that, and I will certainly take a look into that. And if you want to send an email to tfservice@alphasoftware.com, I can get you that answer sooner. If not, if you can wait till next Tuesday, I'll get you the answer then. And that looks like it. All right. Well, hey, thanks everyone for showing up today for this quick Transform Tuesday. Hope to see you next week and hope to see you guys tomorrow at our Wednesday Q&A webinar for Alpha Anywhere. Thanks again for joining. Thanks a lot for asking the question. Take care and goodbye.